Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine you're 21 years old. You're 7 months pregnant, glowing with anticipation. Your 3-year-old daughter plays in the next room. You've just thanked a friend, your wedding photographer, for a sweet gift and a Starbucks card. In 2 days you'll be dead. But it won't be quick. You'll fight. God, you'll fight so hard. You'll claw at your own body from the inside, your fingernails breaking off in your own placenta as someone cuts your baby from your womb while you're still breathing. While your heart is still beating. While you can still feel everything. Your 3-year-old will be in the house when it happens. This is the story of Reagan Simmons-Hancock, a young mother who died protecting her unborn child in the most unimaginable way possible. But it's also the story of Taylor Parker, a woman who smiled for wedding photos, who threw gender reveal parties, who became so consumed by her own lies that she convinced herself murder was the only way out. This isn't just about what happened on October 9th, 2020, in a small Texas town you've probably never heard of. This is about how far someone will go to keep a lie alive, and how that lie cost 2 innocent people everything. What you're about to hear will shake you. It will haunt you, and it will make you question how well you really know the people smiling in your photographs. This is the Taylor Parker case, and I promise you, you've never heard anything like this before. New Boston, Texas, population 4,600, the kind of place where everybody knows everybody, where your wedding photographer might become your Facebook friend, where you trust the people you invite into your most intimate moments. September 2019, Reagan Simmons-Hancock is getting married. She's young, beautiful, full of life. And behind the camera capturing every precious moment, a woman named Taylor Parker. The photos are gorgeous. Taylor is professional, friendly. She and Reagan stay connected on Facebook. They text. They become, as Reagan's husband Homer would later describe it, somewhat friends. Reagan has no idea that the woman who photographed her happiest day is about to orchestrate her worst nightmare. But let's rewind. Because to understand what Taylor Parker did, we need to understand who she was, and more importantly, what she was hiding. July 2019, 2 months before Reagan's wedding. Taylor Parker meets a man named Wade Griffin at a rodeo. He's 27, a roofing company supervisor. They start talking on social media, meeting for dinners, introducing each other to their families. And then, just 2 to 3 weeks into dating, Taylor tells Wade something that changes everything. She's pregnant, with twins, his twins. Wade is thrilled. He's already falling for this woman. The news accelerates everything. They move in together. They start planning a future. There's just one problem. Taylor Parker isn't pregnant. She can't be pregnant, and she knows it. You see, Taylor had given birth to 2 children in a previous marriage, but in 2014 she had a tubal ligation, and then in 2015 she had a complete hysterectomy. Her uterus was removed. Her ex-husband testified that she was devastated by this, extremely upset. But Wade Griffin didn't know any of this. Nobody in her new life knew. So Taylor did what she'd done countless times before. She lied. And then she built an entire world around that lie. She padded her stomach to look pregnant. She faked ultrasound images. She posted about her pregnancy on social media. She planned a gender reveal party with pink and blue decorations. She let Wade take medical leave from his job to prepare for the baby's arrival. But the lies didn't stop there. Taylor told Wade she was an heiress, that she had enough money to buy them a $4.5 million walnut farm. She told him her mother had stolen her inheritance and hired a hitman to kill them both. She claimed her private detective had foiled the plot. Wade Griffin would later describe their relationship as an emotional roller coaster, but he believed her. He believed all of it, until the due date came and went. September 19th, 2020, no babies. Taylor claimed complications, delays. Wade was patient, concerned, supportive. But behind the scenes, Taylor's world was imploding. On September 14th, her search history reveals a terrifying shift. She starts searching for pregnant women. Maternity shops, OB/GYN clinics across East Texas and Louisiana. She makes appointments. She's seen on surveillance cameras outside these clinics, inside them, watching, observing, hunting. Then, on September 16th, the hammer drops. Taylor's ex-husband sends an email to Wade Griffin. He exposes everything, the lies about the pregnancy, the hysterectomy, all of it. Taylor's carefully constructed fantasy is about to crumble, and she knows exactly what that means. She's going to lose Wade. She's going to be exposed as the fraud she's always been. She has to do something drastic. And that's when she thinks of Reagan. Reagan Hancock is 35 weeks pregnant. She's glowing, she's excited. She has a 3-year-old daughter and a baby girl on the way. She's living the life Taylor Parker is pretending to have. And Taylor knows exactly where Reagan lives. She's been there before, she's taken photos there. Reagan trusts her. In early October, Taylor and Reagan start texting more frequently. Back and forth, friendly messages about pregnancy and babies. Reagan has no idea she's being sized up like prey. October 5th, 4 days before the murder. A fire breaks out at Wade Griffin's house where he and Taylor are living. The plumbing and power are knocked out. Investigators would later suspect Taylor set the fire herself, another layer of chaos to explain delays to buy time. The next day, October 6th, Taylor claims she's scheduled to be induced. But there's a bomb threat called into the clinic. Detectives would later connect that call to Taylor too. Time is running out. The lies are collapsing faster than she can rebuild them. October 7th, 2 days before the murder. Reagan sends Taylor a message on Facebook. Thanks for the sweet gift and Starbucks card. Reagan is kind, thoughtful, grateful. She has no idea that the woman she's thanking is planning to murder her. October 8th, the day before, investigators would later discover that Taylor performed what they believe was a trial run. She drove to the area around Reagan's house in New Boston. She sat outside for a significant period of time, watching, timing, planning. That evening she went back. This time she went inside. She hung out with Reagan, the expectant mother who had less than 24 hours to live. Think about that for a moment. Taylor Parker sat in Reagan's home, probably smiled, probably talked about babies and motherhood, all while knowing exactly what she was going to do the next morning. What does it take to do that? What kind of person can look someone in the eye, accept their hospitality, their friendship, and already know you're going to kill them? October 9th, 2020. Reagan's 3-year-old daughter is home. It's morning in New Boston, Texas, and Taylor Parker shows up with a plan. I need to warn you. What I'm about to describe is the darkest thing you may ever hear. If you need to pause, do it now, because once you hear this, you can't unhear it. The medical examiner counted over 100 stab and cut wounds on Reagan's body. At least 39 were to her head. Her skull was fractured in 5 different places, struck multiple times with both the blunt end and the clawed end of a hammer. A jar filled with pink and blue sand from her wedding, that beautiful day Taylor had photographed, was used as a weapon against her. But here's what will haunt you forever. Reagan didn't die quickly. When forensic experts examined the placenta recovered from Taylor's car, they found something that still brings seasoned investigators to tears. Embedded in Reagan's own placenta were fragments of her press-on fingernails, purple polish, glitter, broken off. The forensic expert testified about what this meant. The mother's fingernail is broken off in her own placenta inside her own body. It's hard for me to imagine another scenario where her fingernails would end up in her own placenta if she weren't putting her fingernails in, alive, to essentially protect herself and keep her baby from being extracted. Reagan Hancock was conscious. She was alive, and as Taylor Parker used a scalpel to perform a crude cesarean section, Reagan fought with everything she had. She reached inside her own body, clawing at her own placenta, trying desperately to keep her baby girl safe. A 21-year-old mother's last act on earth was trying to protect her child from being cut out of her. At 9:37 that morning, a Texas state trooper pulled over a vehicle in DeKalb, Texas, about 30 minutes from New Boston. Taylor Parker was driving erratically, speeding. When the trooper approached, he saw something that made no sense. She was holding a newborn infant in her lap. The umbilical cord was still attached, appearing to come out of her pants, as if she'd just given birth. She was covered in blood. She told the trooper she'd just delivered the baby in the car. The baby, Reagan's baby, Braxlynn Sage Hancock, was rushed to a hospital in Oklahoma, but she'd been deprived of oxygen for too long. The brain damage was extensive. At 1:22 p.m., just hours after being cut from her dying mother's body, little Braxlynn was taken off life support. 2 lives, a mother and her unborn daughter. Gone. Because Taylor Parker wanted to keep her boyfriend. At the hospital, medical personnel examined Taylor Parker. They quickly discovered what Wade Griffin had learned just weeks earlier. Taylor didn't have a uterus. An internal exam showed no blood in her vaginal canal, no cervix. A blood test showed 0 pregnancy hormones. And DNA testing confirmed what everyone already knew: the baby was Reagan Hancock's. By that afternoon, investigators were at Reagan's home in New Boston. What they found was a scene of unimaginable horror. Blood everywhere, evidence of a brutal, prolonged struggle, and a 3-year-old girl who had witnessed her mother's murder. The investigation moved with stunning speed. Taylor's cell phone records, GPS data, surveillance footage from medical clinics, Google searches revealing months of premeditation. She'd watched YouTube videos on how to deliver a baby, on caring for premature infants. On the morning of the murder, she'd watched a video about the physical examination of a 35-week-old infant, the exact gestational age of Reagan's baby. Her search history showed she'd been hunting for pregnant women since mid-September, visiting clinic after clinic, sizing up potential victims. And the evidence showed she'd likely done a complete trial run the day before, driving to Reagan's house at approximately the same time she would return the next day to kill her. This wasn't a crime of passion. This wasn't a psychotic break. This was calculated, planned, methodical. September and October 2022, Bowie County, Texas. The trial of Taylor Rene Parker. Over 25 days, the jury heard from 142 witnesses. They saw the evidence, the photos, the timeline, the searches, the lies. They learned about Taylor's history, how she'd been lying and manipulating people for years, how even her own mother knew she wasn't pregnant, but figured the lie would be exposed naturally. They heard from Wade Griffin, the boyfriend she'd done all this for, describing their relationship as an emotional roller coaster. They heard from Reagan's husband, Homer, who had to testify about how the woman who photographed his wedding murdered his wife. The prosecution presented their case methodically. Prosecutor Kelly Crisp told the jury, "We have methodically laid out what she did, why she did it, all the moving parts, and all the collateral damage." The evidence was overwhelming. Taylor Parker had confessed. There was no question of innocence, no wrongful conviction, no coerced confession. She did it. Everyone knew she did it. The only question was, why? The defense tried to paint a picture of a mentally ill woman. They brought up childhood trauma, claims of sexual assault at 13 that allegedly went unreported, emotional issues, weight problems that led to surgery. But the prosecution countered with their own experts. Forensic psychologist Dr. Michael Arambula reviewed all the evidence and testified the crime scene was horrendous. I was looking for some kind of mental deterioration that would account for that, but instead I saw that she stuck to her plan and there was no remorse afterwards. A psychiatrist testified that Taylor didn't have a mental illness, but she did exhibit features of mixed personality disorders, narcissism, antisocial personality disorder, borderline personality disorder. She was histrionic with a history of compulsive lying. In other words, Taylor Parker knew exactly what she was doing. She just didn't care about anyone but herself. The jury deliberated for about an hour. Guilty of capital murder. November 9, 2022, sentencing day. Reagan's family gave victim impact statements. Her sister Emily spoke about how, at her upcoming wedding, she'd have to carry a picture of Reagan down the aisle because her sister wouldn't be there as her maid of honor. Reagan's mother, Jessica Brooks, addressed Taylor directly, calling her an evil piece of flesh demon. The jury deliberated for just over an hour. Death. Judge John Tidwell looked at the bailiff and said 5 words: "Take her to death row." On November 14, 2022, at age 29, Taylor Rene Parker became the 7th woman on Texas's death row. But even in custody, Taylor couldn't stop lying. Prosecutors revealed that while in jail awaiting trial, she continued to scheme. She made wildly false medical claims. She tried to frame fellow inmates. She faked conditions, exaggerated symptoms, demanded unnecessary medical care. A jailhouse therapist testified about a disturbing incident where Taylor got angry about remaining handcuffed. She went completely dark. Her eyes went completely dark, and her face distorted. Even facing death, Taylor Parker couldn't stop being Taylor Parker. Taylor Parker is 32 years old now. She sits on death row at the Patrick L. O'Daniel unit in Texas. The average woman on Texas's death row has served 20 years. If that holds, Taylor won't be executed until she's in her 50s. 20 years to think about what she did. About Reagan's broken fingernails in her own placenta. About a 3-year-old who watched her mother die. About a baby girl who never got to take her first breath outside her mother's body. Her appeals are ongoing. Her attorney argues the trial was tainted with errors, that prosecutors manipulated the jury, but legal experts say her chances are slim. The evidence is too overwhelming, the crime too heinous. Reagan Simmons-Hancock was 21 years old. She had her whole life ahead of her. She was a mother, a wife, a daughter, a sister, a friend. Braxlynn Sage Hancock never got to see the world, never got to feel her mother's arms around her, never got to grow up. And for what? So Taylor Parker could keep lying to her boyfriend for a few more weeks? This case forces us to ask uncomfortable questions. How well do we know the people we let into our lives? The wedding photographer, the Facebook friend, the person smiling in the background of our happiest moments. How does someone become so disconnected from reality, so consumed by their own lies, that murder seems like a reasonable solution? And what do we do with people like Taylor Parker? People who show no remorse, no empathy, no recognition of the humanity they destroyed. There are no good answers, only the facts. Reagan fought for her baby until her last breath. Taylor Parker will spend decades, possibly the rest of her life, behind bars. And a little girl in Texas is growing up without her mother and her baby sister. This is a story about lies, about manipulation, about narcissism taken to its darkest extreme. But more than that, it's about Reagan, about her strength, about her fight, about a mother's love that transcended even death itself. Her story deserves to be told. Her name deserves to be remembered. Reagan Simmons-Hancock. If this story moved you, if Reagan Simmons-Hancock's memory stirred something in you, subscribe to the channel, share this video, and help keep her story alive.